Welcome to the 2717 podcast. I'm Javier, an authentic wedding filmmaker.
And I'm Ashley, a passionate wedding photographer.
We're here to bring Proverbs 2717 to the wedding industry. As iron sharpens iron,
so one person sharpens another. In this fun series, we're all about sharing experiences and building a community.
Expect heartfelt stories, creative inspiration, and some amazing behind-the-scene moments.
Plus, insights from some truly inspiring guests.
Tune in to connect with us, spark your creativity,
and be a part of a supportive community.
You're listening to the 2717 podcast.
We're thrilled to record our podcast in the beautiful studio provided by Love K Collective, where self-love meets stunning photography. If you're looking to celebrate your unique beauty through empowering portraits, boudoir, or maternity shoots, Kayla offers an experience that's as uplifting as it is professional. Visit lovekcollective.com to book your session today and capture the essence of you. A big thank you to Love K Collective for supporting our creative journey. Welcome back to the 2717 podcast. We're so excited to be coming at you this Monday. We hope that you have a really exciting week coming up. Javi, is there anything going on this week that you're really excited about or anything that you did?
Well, yesterday I tested an anamorphic lens. I'm preparing for, I call it the start of my wedding season. So like September all the way through May or June.
Oh, yeah.
I feel like that's the beginning of the year for me.
I know, we're coming up.
So in 2 weeks, actually, I'm starting the wedding season again. I'm just excited to test out these lenses, prepare for this wedding, and get the ball rolling.
Oh, so exciting. Oh, love
But
it.
today, honestly, I'm more excited to talk about this topic because I've been seeing tons of videos in the wedding filmmaking community about our bookings at all-time low for 2025. Have you been experiencing that in your community for the wedding photography side?
Yeah, I've heard a lot about this. And honestly, I've seen it too. I've seen it from friends of mine. I've seen it in my own bookings. Bookings are coming in slower. I feel like also this mid-year where we're in right now, like this summer season, is very slow in general, especially in the Florida area. So I found that my bookings have been a little lower. But yeah, this is a huge thing. This is a huge topic. And I'm really excited to really dive into it today.
Me too. And honestly, just to give you context for my own self, and I'm going to put out my business here because I want to give that transparency.
Yeah.
But 2022, 2023, actually 2021 were some amazing years for me and like business wise. I would say I was more of a volume brand for sure of doing tons of weddings. I mean, 2021, I probably did 45-ish, but then 2022, I did over almost 100 weddings.
Yeah, that's insane.
Like at 100 actually, 100 weddings.
Yeah.
And in 2023, I did 61 weddings, which is insane.
That's insane.
This year for 2024, I have, I think, 32 weddings total. And then for next year, my goal, I've been refining to do less and less, which happened to also like go with the market and how it's shifting.
Yeah.
Because one, I was overworked doing the volume. I knew that wasn't sustainable and I didn't want to go that direction either.
Sure.
But then I also found out thinking like, I don't think this is going to last forever. this boom isn't going to last forever.
Yeah.
And so I started refining those goals and say, hey, let's do 20 weddings. And now for next year, the goal is for 20. Right now, I think I have about 14 booked for next year. However, it was a whole different feeling at the beginning of the year when I changed my pricing.
Yeah.
And my market that I like to serve is anywhere starting like 5,500 up to 12,000.
Yeah.
Just depending on what the couples are looking for, whether it be a destination wedding, whether it be a local wedding here in Florida. That's kind of like my price range and market. Most of our couples are middle class and they're usually in a position where they're a little bit more established. They're like from 28 to 35, but I have seen a significant drop in general when it comes to the number of inquiries that's come in through the door.
Yeah.
And I felt like this year, even new skill sets to require, I'm seeing a lot of people starting to do paid advertisement for their business to be a calling. Doing much more content creation or doing just a lot of more different things. But there has been a slowdown, even though I'm on pace to do what I'm looking to do. But it has been a significant drop where these bookings doesn't feel as easy as they were before.
Yeah.
And couples before were booking almost a year ahead of time.
Yeah.
Where now it's almost 6 months, 3 months from their wedding date.
Yeah. I found that a lot too.
Yeah,
I've had that a lot this year of a couple inquiries that are like a couple months out, which is really, really cool opportunity for like you to like kind of speed rush, get to know them and, get to capture their day. But yeah, I found that inquiries have been a little low too. I mean, as a creative that did boom with the industry, kind of circling back as to what you said, where the wedding industry boomed, weddings boomed, like so are creatives, so are wedding vendors. Because of the boom in weddings, there's going to be a boom in everything wedding related, not just the weddings themselves. So I feel like there has been a crazy, crazy boom in creatives, in wedding vendors, because it is such a glorious lifestyle from what it looks like on social media. And me being one of them too. I mean, as a creative that started my business during COVID, I can relate to this a lot too, where
And you're also planning a wedding.
and I am planning a wedding, yes. And so we're gonna kind of touch on that aspect of things a little later in the episode. But yeah, I found that these past few years have been really, really great for weddings. And my typical weddings per year, I would say I like to range from like 20 to 30, just to really like, yes, get the volume, but also get to really know my couples as well. And I found that I'm about like 1/3 of that for next year, which, you know, is still like, I'm still so excited for the couples to come and everything, but it's also just still like, I can feel it slowing. And I feel like it's because of the creatives that's boomed. Like, I feel like there's so many more options.
That's true. There's a lot more options now, and price points are everywhere too. As
Yeah,
well.
that's also true. Very true. And I feel like a lot of people have really increased their pricing as well with the boom, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Because they've done all this volume. They've, you know, gotten all this experience in the last 2 or 3 years. And then they've increased their prices like crazy, especially with, you know, inflation and all that fun stuff too. But
I agree. And here's like the big question mark, right?
Yeah.
It's like, has weddings gone down?
Right.
Well, it has. We've researched and we saw that 10.4% of weddings have gone down from 2022, expecting up here for 2024.
Yeah.
Now, just to give you a perspective of numbers, that's about 200,000 less weddings going on.
Yeah.
But let's just talk about like how much more creatives join this industry,
Yeah.
right? Now the options of these brides are much more significant, right? They can
Yes.
choose who they want, and everyone is at an interesting price point.
Yes.
I think the ones that are really getting bookings or sustaining or outshining the others is really by their personal branding, their development, their messaging, communication,
for sure.
refinement of their brand. And also, most importantly, more than anything, in my opinion, it's the value they're providing.
Yeah.
Are they able to communicate the value enough that the couple is willing to invest into them?
Yeah.
Beyond the price point.
Yeah.
Because price point is irrelevant if nobody's willing to pay for it.
Right.
And so
exactly.
even
No,
if
for
your
sure.
starting price is $7,500 or $10,000, if nobody's willing to pay for it, the value is non-existent.
Right.
And so I think now creatives in this interesting time period, I do believe that a lot of them may not be in this industry any longer because maybe they haven't refined their messaging and value, what they can propose for their couples,
Sure.
or they haven't done the necessary work, or even as well being a steward of their money.
Yeah.
And being able to know that this is a season of ups and downs,
Yeah.
that you're going to experience some downs, you know, but it will come back up later on. But if you manage that money well, you have leverage to sustain when things are not going great. And so one of the things that really leads me to believe now, it's like, if you're one of these persons that, hey, things are going slow, bookings are getting low, what can I do? What can I do to improve and to still stay in this business? The number one thing I would say is reevaluate what is it that you're offering.
Yeah.
And what is it that you propose that's unique and different, and how you can serve your couples the best way.
Yeah.
By finding like finding the right market you want to, work with, and try to find that unique angle that you can now start showcasing that value that you have.
Yes, because we all have that calling. We all have that niche thing. I mean, I feel like we hear that all the time in the wedding industry, or just in the creative industry as well. Like, you need to niche down, you need to niche down. And it's like, well, I want to do this, I want to do that, I feel called to this. And it's really like sitting back, reflecting on your business and being like, what am I truly passionate about? What can I give that's different? What am I doing in my life or through my work that somebody else can't give? Because I think that's a really beautiful thing that we all as creatives have. We all have a unique eye, given from God. And it's just amazing how that can really work into our business. How is our, backing systems different? How is our client experience different? how can I, go about consult calls differently than the person that they talked to 25 minutes ago? You know what I mean? How can
Exactly.
I stand out in this industry that's constantly evolving and constantly, growing?
Agree. And like,
Yeah,
and honestly, you can be in this position where, like, let's say, hey, you're still getting inquiries, but you're not getting the booking.
right.
So that could be a process, your systems that you need to figure out. And don't be shy to ask the couple why they didn't choose you.
Yeah.
It's
Ooh, that's
fine.
a really hard thing to come to terms with, but it's a good point. I
It's
mean, because I never feel heartbreak more than when a couple's like, we've on with someone else. I'm like, I get it, but like,
But hey, asking the question, if
yeah,
it's a budget related thing, it's like,
yeah,
hey, well, why, what value was I not providing that they, would have chosen to spend a little bit more with me rather than go in a different direction.
yeah,
And if budget was the ultimate concern with them, are you as a creative willing to figure out how you can create incentives where you can also benefit by discounting your services, but
yeah,
you get leverage as well, whether it's like, hey, if you pay in full now, I'll give you X amount percent of off. And
yeah,
that gives you, hey, they get a discount. They valued the monetary side of things, but then you got paid all up front.
yeah. And you can use that as a tool to, grow, wherever you need
Exactly.
it.
And honestly, now let's say you're the creative who's not getting inquiries, who's not getting any traction whatsoever. That's one of those things where you really have to find ways to exhaust all of your organic ways
Yeah.
to get inquiries,
Yeah.
meaning
Step up that game and
exactly network with
Yeah.
anyone and everyone you know.
Yeah.
If you started a year ago, 2 years ago, go back through your list of creatives or
Yeah.
vendors that you worked with, see how they're doing, check up on them,
Yeah.
and see ways that you can create a value relationship for them where they're going to want to recommend you. That's like key
and
one.
that's a big key too, and like key word of like value relationship, not like I'm gonna gain something from you, you're gonna gain
Mhm.
something from me. Yes, if that comes organically, like that's awesome, but also like really creating memorable interactions to where you're creating value for them and you have nothing to gain from it. Then
Mhm.
that's going to look back at your character, that's going to look back at who you are and really show like, hey, this is someone I want to work with
Yeah.
all the time. I want to refer them. They're selfless. They're going to put you first on a wedding day. They're going to say that to their couples.
And that's planting good seeds.
Yeah.
That's being a good steward right
Plant
there.
those seeds.
Plant the good
Plant
seeds.
those seeds.
Because they will reap a harvest
Sure.
at some point. And
Yeah.
if you planted the good seeds, you did the work that was needed to do,
Yeah.
you're going to reap a harvest that's going to benefit you in the long run and
Yeah.
sustain your business through these down times and enjoy the up times as well. But if you're
Definitely.
planting the bad seeds of, self-doubt that you can't do this, or, putting the fear that, oh man, you're creeping in this fear that this, your business is not going to work out.
Yeah.
That's fine. That's understandable. Everybody's
everybody
life
goes through that.
situation is different.
Everybody goes through
But
that.
I would
yeah.
say is that if this is your passion, you believe you're called to be here in this industry, then you want to exhaust every resource as possible. I'll
Yeah.
even share a personal story of mine.
Yeah.
In 2021, I was halfway in, halfway out,
Yeah.
meaning my business wasn't where I wanted it to be. It was, COVID was still going on, this whole pandemic and everything. And I had to make a decision. I was like, always, when things was getting rough and no bookings, I was searching for a job, trying to figure out like, oh, what can I do
Yeah.
then?
Yeah.
And then the other side, I was also just like, but I'm passionate about it. I believe God has called me to this. But I wasn't all in.
Yeah.
And all in is being really all in.
Right. Yes, exactly.
Not one foot in, one foot out.
It's not the mindset that we should be having.
Exactly.
No.
And
especially not if you're wanting success.
Exactly. And I made the decision to go all in. So what that meant for me, at that time, I wasn't second shooting for anyone.
Mhm.
I wasn't trying to put myself out there and network with others. I was just in this little box.
Yep.
And I decided that it's time to break that box.
Yep.
And I went on Honeybook. I don't know if they have this now, but they have these opportunities things where you can like create a post. I read somebody.
Oh yeah, they do have that.
So
Yeah,
I was
yeah.
reading someone and they're like,
Shout
hey,
out Honeybook.
yeah, sponsor us, please.
Please, stat.
But I dove into there and I responded. I said, you know what? My new mindset is I'm going to try to help others and create value for them.
Yeah.
Well, a photographer was actually looking for a videographer for a wedding. And I said, hey, let's help. I helped her out.
Yeah.
Within the next month, we created this partnership together that really benefited us both. And before you knew it, I booked 20 weddings that following month.
Yeah.
Which was insane for me.
That is crazy that you just were like 1 foot out, like 1 foot in, and you were like, okay, I'm just going to try this one little thing. And like, I feel like also
And
When
just
you
so
just
you
when you even just said that, you were like, I put like looked at the face or the honeybook
opportunities.
opportunities. I was like, oh, interesting. Okay.
And
Like how crazy of an opportunity, because I've never looked at those ever.
yeah, like looking through those opportunities, and just to give you context of
Yeah.
really of what the situation was, I had a son. And my wife was just starting her career in her job, and I was like
Yeah.
the main provider and supporter, and we had to figure this thing out. And so I had to figure it. I had to make up my mind, and I decided to be all in. And that's how the mindset and
Yes.
approach is. But through that period, I was in some financial troubles. I'd made some
Yeah.
decisions that were not smart. And that's why when we're talking about these things, I'm going to be sharing my own experiences because I did some things that were absolutely dumb. Do not buy gear like crazy. Be smart with the gear that you do buy.
Preach.
Nowadays, I own all of my gear outright.
Yeah.
Thank God.
Yeah.
We put in the work. But when I first started, it wasn't like this.
Yeah.
I made some really bad decisions. And
Yeah.
I had to figure out how to get out of this debt
Yeah.
that I had accumulated.
Yeah, because I mean, I feel like that's a huge thing too is, you see photographers on social media and they're posting all of their work and like they have a beautiful website and stuff like that. There's so much back end information that you need to know to like be a business owner that can really be self-destructive if you're not like willing to learn back end processes, if that makes
Absolutely.
sense. Like it can totally change your demeanor of how you approach situations if you're filled with self-doubt because the business side of things isn't like
It's
your
not
business
working.
side isn't as good as your creative side, which is a huge thing.
Yeah. And you
And
gotta,
it's true. Like
you have to
I
mesh
mean,
the two
I feel
together.
that. I'm constantly learning. I again just started my business 3 years ago. I'm still learning the business side of things, and it is a big learning curve. Like you trial and error a lot,
Yeah.
and see how it goes.
And honestly, you really have to, again, it's
Yeah, you just
really,
have to show up.
I always believe the mindset of planting the good seed.
Yeah.
Planting the good seed of like, okay, I'm going to be all in. I'm going to exhaust all my resources, even when times get tough. And I believe this is what I'm called to do.
Yeah.
No matter what, if I have to get a part-time job to sustain this, I will.
I will. Yeah.
And, and if you have to lower your pricing to get the booking to sustain this, to weather the storm, do it. Don't let your pride hold you back from fulfilling what you're being called to do.
Yeah, exactly.
And be
especially
smart financially.
Yeah, and we've talked about this too where like during certain seasons are slower. I do couples photos, I do portraits photos as well. So, that on top of weddings, can maintain throughout the seasons, which is really grateful opportunity to have that. But you can change your pricing throughout your seasons. If summer is a lower booking season, like lower your prices, lower your like shift your packaging to where it would shift right, still giving value to you, giving value to those couples that may be inquiring. And,
and be ethical in the way you do it as well.
And
meaning if you're going to lower your pricing and you've already booked others at a higher price, make sure the value is fair for what they're getting as well.
Yeah, like you're still getting the value out of it. The bride and groom are getting the value out of it. And you get that like outstanding relationship and also that bride and groom that you might not have gotten or, stuff like that. And, give off those discounts, incentives, you know what I mean, to, grow during those slower seasons.
It's all about planting the right seeds.
Period. Okay, so with all of that being said, Javi, are you finding that couples are taking their time more so to make final decisions, or are they like booking right away? You're getting that inquiry. What does that timeline look like?
Honestly, for my bookings, I've been finding out that they're taking more time than usual to make the decisions. But the ones that are absolutely ready and committed, they'll make the decision pretty fast, like within 2 or 3 days. However, for me, I usually tend to follow up a week from the day of their inquiry, and I do a soft hold on their date.
Yeah.
And give them time to really think about and making sure that, hey, I am the right decision for their wedding day.
Yeah.
And for my weddings, I tend to travel a good amount. So, I want to make sure that, hey, I'm bringing Javier from Sundial Creatives to Georgia or to Chicago or to these different areas here in the States or even overseas, that making sure that, hey, I'm the right investment. So
definitely.
Typically I find it that, hey, it's 7 days and they'll either let me know yes or no.
Yeah.
I really hate the ghosting, so I always follow up just to get an answer because having an
answer is better than no answer.
Absolutely.
You're going to be constantly pondering on that. I do a first follow-up, same as you, 7 days after, or depending on when I have the call, if it's on
Mm-hmm.
Friday, I'll follow up on Monday.
Exactly.
Certain situations, stuff like that. But also finding that second follow-up is super helpful, just to like get them to respond, just to like,
Yes.
say, hey, we did go in a different direction. Like, that's so helpful to me. I
Yeah.
just want to know. I just want to know if you did. And
If
then
you're crying with a vendor, please let us know.
yes, don't ghost your vendors.
Like, please let us know that, hey, we don't want to move forward with you. That's okay.
Yeah, we don't mind.
We get more no's than we do get yeses, by the way.
For sure.
Like, and so, hey, letting us know. And if you give us a reason, even better, because then
Yeah.
it just lets us know, like, hey, what can we improve in our processes? That, is it budget concern, or is
Yeah.
it, hey, maybe we just don't fit stylistically,
Yeah.
and so forth.
Yeah. Do you find that it's been more money-wise this year?
I've definitely found that to be the case.
Yeah.
At the start of the year, my pricing actually started at $6,900, but the average sale was around 75 to 8,000. And then since then, I actually lowered it to be more entry. To, hey, let's try to get a little bit more people in, because once
Yeah.
you start at that pricing point, you're gonna find that you're gonna get a lot less inquiries,
Mhm.
because the market pool is just much smaller.
Sure.
And so I've lowered it to 5,500, but my average sale is still around 7,000 to 8,000.
Yeah.
So that's where I found where I can still make it up, even if you lower your entry pricing. That doesn't, won't hurt your bottom line.
Right.
It just gives you opportunity to bring people in more, to hear the value that you provide, and to resonate with
Definitely.
it. Hey, they're going to be willing to invest into you.
As a bride myself, I feel like I have found that I really want to like make sure I know where I'm investing my money. So I definitely, especially with the inflation and with it being election year, like I feel like people
Yeah.
have been really tight with their money.
And honestly, there's
It's
just
fair.
there's a lot of options too.
There's a lot of options.
And so, like,
yeah.
hey, you may see my work and say, like, he's not worth that 6,900 or the 7,500.
I would never say that.
But like, hey, it's a real conversation. Then they see someone else like starting at 3,500, and they're like, wow, well, their look looks similar.
Yeah.
But there's a lot more in the background stuff that, hey, the experience can be completely different working with this one creative with the other creative.
Right.
You may get great work, but are you going to get great service?
Sure.
You just don't know that,
You
right?
just don't know. Yeah.
So there's a reason why those processes, in terms of, for me, where it's like, hey, we started this pricing, but we give a lot of care and attention to our couples and our process, understanding you guys, who you are. And I'm very candid also to let them know, like, hey, this is who we are. And if you value that, we would love to work with you.
Yeah.
We would love to be part of your wedding day
Yeah.
and serve you at your wedding.
Yeah. I love that process that you have where you're like, you literally set the ground rule of like, this is my expectations. Yeah. And, setting that up for the couple, setting up expectations for the couple is, a huge thing to just really let yourself stand out, I think. Because
Absolutely.
I feel like couples really are like, you're the one that, you know what I mean? Like me being a bride coming to you, I'm like, I have expectations for you. And it's like, well, I have expectations for you and for like my
Exactly.
business and like, you know what I mean? So not in a bad way. Not in like
honestly,
way,
it's mainly
but like
the communication.
Yeah, just a huge communication of like, this is what I do. This is how I go through my processes. I really want to have more of a connection with you. I really want to make sure that these photos, tell your story and all that stuff. And that's not for everybody. That's not every creative's vision. You know?
Well, and one of the beautiful things I gotta say, even though bookings have been slower, but the couples who have booked with me and who have invested in me are absolutely my dream couples.
Yeah.
Because they value what I'm doing, they trust in the vision that I have, and it just makes me want to serve them even more.
Sure.
Do so much more for their wedding day.
Sure.
And trying to do the best as possible. So
Yeah.
it's a beautiful thing, especially during these times where when people are willing to invest into you, go above and beyond.
Yeah.
Serve them in ways that you never thought you can serve them in, whether it's like, hey, I'm capturing more moments than I normally would at a wedding day, even if they pay for this package. It's like, go above and beyond the expectation.
Yeah. Okay, so Javi, if you were a new videographer, just started a year or two ago, entered the wedding industry in such a boom as this, how would you get your bookings up in this next slower season?
Well, right now, the first thing I would do is look at all the options I have that I can exhaust with my effort, and I have to put any money yet.
Sure.
I think money and rebranding and doing different stuff should be at the end,
later,
not at the beginning. Because right now we're trying to figure out how to get inquiries. And I know that there's a saying, it takes money to make money.
Yes.
And it does, but also takes a lot of effort behind strategy.
First, yes.
So I would sit down, refine your messaging, refine your mission, make sure that this is what you're trying to do for the long term or for however long the season is for you.
Yeah.
And now start strategizing. So start looking at what can you do organically. That's one. Reaching out to vendors, posting out content
Slide in
consistently.
those DMs.
And if you don't got content, create your collaborations or style shoots on your
Yes.
own so you can get some content to put out.
Yes,
Whether
for
you're
sure.
a photographer or a videographer, do that right
For
there.
sure, yeah.
And
Shooting for free is one of the best creative outlets, but also a way that you can,
explore your creative
what you like
endeavors and
to
opportunities, but also it gives you then that material to go ahead and start marketing out there and start putting
Exactly.
out the message. So for example, figuring out if, hey, you're wanting to shoot more of anamorphic lenses and be
Mhm.
known by this character trait with these lenses, hey, start making that content, putting it out there organically. And you never know who's going to find it that appeals to them and they want to reach out to you because
Right.
you're offering this unique thing that they don't see anywhere else. So that's like one thing as a wedding filmmaker, I would hit on that. I would also say hit organically. Everyone that you do know, create some value, whether it's a photographer. It's like, hey, Ashley, I worked with you this past year. It was so amazing to work with you. You really made the date smooth. We didn't collide in anything. And honestly, the couple had a great experience. And if they left your review, say Ashley was amazing. She was a team player to work with. Her and the videographer just amazing. Hey, I can
Yeah.
reach out. Let's form this connection. It's like, hey, is there any opportunities that can help serve you? Or, hopefully we can work together again at another wedding.
Yeah, I love that. I love that topic that you just hit on where you were talking about reviews. Like, review your favorite wedding vendors that you've worked with.
Yep.
That's a huge touch to anybody's heart. And I feel like everyone thinks that you need to, be a bride and groom or an actual client to leave a review. It's like, no, I worked with this planner. She made my day super easy. And,
Yeah.
I'm going to rave about it. Like,
And
you know what I mean?
vendors are your other clients
Yes.
too, because they will, if they like you and want to work with you, they're going to recommend you to work consistently together.
Yeah.
Because not only would it give a benefit to the bride, it will give a benefit to the vendor and the experience. And
Definitely.
it'll shine on their service that they're providing to the couple. And also you end up shining as well. You get
Definitely. Make
both.
that a thing. Write reviews for your favorite vendors.
Yeah, it's a huge thing. And then the
That's
next
awesome.
thing off of that, I would then try to do is, okay, now let's see if none of these two things are working. Nothing is growing. Let's say a month, 2 months has passed by. You haven't reaped anything. I would then start looking into, hey, what can I use my money to invest in?
Yeah.
Is it going to be getting a new website? And I would honestly, before even doing that, I would be looking at my traffic on my website. Am I getting anybody onto my website? Is my SEO any good?
Yeah.
If you're a photographer, am I blogging and putting out photos that can attract or create blogs that are actually insightful and useful for
Right.
a potential couple?
Right.
So I would be looking at those aspects analytical just to see if I'm getting any traffic before I even want to rebrand.
Right.
Because if I'm going to rebrand and I'm not getting anyone on my website, it's not worth
Why
the
would
money.
I do that? Yeah.
Why do that?
Yeah.
So I would be looking into that, and then that's going to guide my next decision, whether it's like, okay, you know what? Let's either put some money. I like my website. I like my messaging. I like my branding. Let's try paid advertisement. Let's see if we
Yeah.
can get some people onto here, and let's create some strategies in different aspects.
Yeah, exactly. There's definitely a lot of ways of advertising too, from paid advertising to all the meta stuff to, the not and all
Absolutely.
of those. There's a lot of different outlets of doing that.
That's what I would be doing
Yeah.
to be able just to get eyes and start getting traction. What we want is opportunities. Get the inquiries. I get more excited when I get the inquiry than I actually get the booking.
Yeah.
Because getting the inquiry gives me the opportunity. It's up
Mhm.
to me now to close the door,
Yeah.
seal the deal
Yeah,
once they
good.
book.
Yeah.
But
really good.
once they inquired with me, it's like, oh, the opportunity. It's such more exciting than honestly the conquest at the end
Oh,
of it.
yeah.
It's chasing, it's the thrill, it's the journey. And so
Yeah.
that's where I'll be saying, like, hey, if you're not getting those inquiries, hey, let's go ahead and try to figure out ways that we can create those opportunities, whether it's creating
Yeah.
those great deals, like you said, but be smart about
Yeah.
discounting your services.
Of course. Yeah.
Be smart about, what is it that you're giving the couple and providing to as well,
Yeah.
because you could hurt not just, yourself in the long run, but you could actually hurt your general area in terms of other videographers that are pricing themselves out. So just be wise with that, because you could hurt the local market as well.
Yeah. That's really good. Really good.
So that's one of my strategies. Now, if you're having tons of inquiries and you're just not getting the booking, then that's a process.
That's a process thing.
Yeah, that's
Yeah.
your systems
Sit
not
down,
being down.
Look at your client experience. Look at how you run your consultations. Look at how
Exactly.
you what your pricing guide looks like. And, if you're sending your pricing guide beforehand, if you're waiting to talk about it on a video call, if you're doing
Yeah.
a phone call versus a video call, are you doing, what I mean?
Yeah.
Switch it up. Try
w-
different options.
One of the
Yeah.
beautiful things about, at least like in our calls this whole year, it's been like, hey, what's your system's been looking like?
Yeah.
Do you do video calls? You don't do video calls.
Yeah.
You send out the brochure prior, like we have different systems. And it's like, for me, I don't send out my brochure prior.
Yeah.
I list my pricing on my website. That way, you know what you're walking into. There's no surprises. And then once we get on the call, it's about getting to know who you are.
Yeah.
And making sure this is a good fit.
For sure.
For us both.
Yeah. I love that.
And
For
then-
me, I send my pricing guides beforehand.
Yeah.
And I've really liked that system. As for me, I find that, I start my base. I set my base pricing on my website, and then I really like creating the pricing guides. I just think they're cutie. But also, I find that it's really helpful. I really break down like how, my systeming works, and, how booking goes about, and, how my packages are all broken down together. So they kind of, really get the inside scoop before we have a call. And then on the call, I really focus on like, what are you looking for in a wedding photographer? What does your love story look like? And, getting into the nitty gritty of, their relationship, and then going into the nitty gritty of, okay, so let's look at packages. What's speaking out to you? I would recommend this one from what you've told me about your wedding day and what you're looking for. This kind of matches that, breaking those down and answering questions that way.
And I know in systems too, I would say that really works well for like wedding photographers.
Sure.
Because for the majority, it's very straightforward. It's like,
yeah, definitely.
I know how many photos I'm getting. I know what kind of photos. If I want film, here's an add-on for films. It's very straightforward.
Definitely.
And I found for videography, it's not as straightforward.
Yeah.
Because a lot of us use the same terms, but our process and approach are so different. They're like, yeah, you're going to get a wedding highlight film and then a wedding trailer.
Yeah. It's like,
And
well,
then
what is that?
What's the difference?
What's the difference?
Or they say a documentary edit. What is a documentary edit?
Yeah.
So that's why I personally don't send out my brochure.
Yeah.
I do list the starting price. That way, hey, when we're on this call, I want to guide you through this whole experience of what it'll look like to work together, why each single piece of our process is important for the final outcome being your deliverables, and then also explaining to you, one, what you're getting and what this actually means.
Yes.
What does your wedding film mean? For me, hey, this is a narrative. I use a narrative film. I use your parts of your ceremony, parts of what your officiant is speaking about your wedding to set the foundation of what the love looks like for you both. I use your speeches from your family and friends to be able to, hey, these are the elements about so and so.
And then you can really pitch those too. Like really pitch those,
And that's why I do
processes.
my calls now. I share about, hey, you know what? I look in your speeches, I'm looking for the attributes that your maid of honor or your best man is speaking about you and individually, and even the relationship, and then finding those in-between moments, whether it be a first look or literally right after the ceremony, bride and groom are just having a moment together and they're like, wow, we're literally married. I can't believe it, and different process and systems. For me, I mic up my brides and grooms all day long. That way I can find those in-between moments and really, hey, this is how I approach creating your narrative, your wedding film. And I call it wedding film more than a highlight film because I'm trying to actually tell a story rather than just show the whole highlight of the day. I'm trying to like, hey, this is who, for example, Ashley and Luke are for their wedding day. So, or actually in their relationship more than anything.
Right.
And then showcasing is like, yeah, you also get your full ceremony, you get your full speeches, you get a wedding trailer to create the excitement for the wedding film and the remaining deliverables.
Yeah, your wedding consult is your pitch. You're pitching yourself as much as like you're trying to get the inside scoop about your couples, but you're also trying to pitch yourself.
Exactly. I'm definitely sharing, hey, I want to get to know who you are. I share a little bit about myself, who I am, and I ask questions that are thorough, like off the wall questions.
Yes.
And I throw you into like, wait, what? I didn't expect to, be asked this question.
Yeah.
And I won't share it because, I'm going to share it one day in one of these episodes. But I love it because it gives me an insight about their relationship that I can connect emotionally into their wedding and their film. And I always say that, hey, weddings are for me an emotional transaction because sure, you are paying me. That's one. But the next step is for me to really be invested emotionally into it because that's the way I'm inspired creatively to create a film.
Yeah, so good. So yeah, if you're, looking for more bookings and, you're getting those inquiries, but not getting those final deposits, not getting those final bookings, look into your processes, switch some things up. Why not? Don't get discouraged about it.
Keep testing.
Just test out everything until something clicks, because when it clicks, I'm telling you, you'll be like,
work.
oh, this is the best.
And if things are slow and all-time low, hey,
that's the perfect time to test.
And if you ain't getting any income, get a job, get a part-time, do whatever you got to do to support yourself while you work on this. Because your success story is your own story, your own journey, and everyone is going to go through, the ups and downs. And some people may start right off the bat and climb up high.
Yep.
But
and then some people, it might need to be a climb. Yeah,
exactly. And every story is the same exact way.
Yeah, and don't get discouraged by seeing social media as a facade. It always is. We all know this. Everyone's only posting their highlight reels. So, do what's best for you. It's your business, and that's the beauty of it. You have a creative eye, and you are amazing at what you do. Keep trekking on. I know that this slow season is going to be hurt to the ego for a lot of people, but we just got to keep trekking on. We just got to keep stepping up our game and working hard.
Agree.
So good.
For those that don't know, you're planning your wedding.
I am. A 2025 bride. Let's go.
So being a wedding photographer, but also being a bride who's planning a wedding, what's been your mindset and your approach to booking your vendors, and also the way that you value each vendor in selecting them? So what's that priority list kind of looks like, and what's been the mindset and approach of approaching your wedding planning?
Yeah. Ooh, that's a good question. I've dreamed about my wedding forever, probably as every girl has. And so when it was finally my time to be on the other side of things and start booking vendors, I've only booked my photographer, videographer, planner, and venue. So when it came to those were my core things that I wanted. I really set my priorities straight and, where I really wanted to invest, and kind of tackled those first. So with photographer and videographer and even planner too, our planner is one of my best friends, so I trust her with my life. But also I wanted to make sure that I really took the time to sit down with photographers, you also, because you're my bestie. So I just knew, I already knew in my brain, I was like, I don't want anybody other than Javi. But for photographer wise, I really sat down with a lot. I found it was a really hard decision, especially being a photographer. I really wanted to make sure that I was fully trusting of our photographer. These are going to be the photos that are up in our home for generations. These are the photos that we're going to show, our kids and our grandkids and all of that stuff. So I wanted to really be intentional with our budget, be really intentional with the human connection, really valuing the call and just feeling like I could relate to that person, and also loving their work. So those were my 3-tier things. Did they fit in my budget? Did we have a personal connection? Can I trust you? And how does your work align with my vision and what my day would look like?
And let me jump in there.
Sure.
Because I want to ask, as your bride perspective, not the photographer side, why was it important for you to have a connection with your creative team and your planner? Because your planner is part of that creative process as well.
Of course, yeah.
So why was that so important for you?
Oh, it was so important because I really want my day to be stress-free. I really don't want to stress. I want to make sure that my team is my team. These are my squad. This is my wolf pack team of people that are going to be rooting for me on my day, are going to really make it seamless, someone that I can just fully be hands off and be like, I can trust you. I trust your creative vision. I trust your processes. And, I could really sit back and really enjoy the wedding process, the wedding planning process, and the wedding day itself.
That's a beautiful thing right there.
Yeah. So those are my big things. I really value people. That's just who I am. I mean, I know a lot of people are that way too, obviously. But I really value people and really value human connection. So I want that with all of my vendors. I want to make sure that they're taken care of. I want to make sure that they're I don't know. I'm just very caring of people, and I want to make sure that every interaction has a meaning.
Absolutely. That's beautiful. And then for your venue,
Yeah.
let's talk about the venue. How was your
Yeah.
approach selecting your venue for the wedding?
Venues so hard. They're so expensive.
Absolutely.
Venues are crazy. We were looking into my fiance and we sat down and we were looking through venues, and I kind of had made a curated list. All my brides in the house can be like, yep, I made a list and was like, you can pick from these.
Mhm.
We're gonna go through them. No, he's awesome. My fiance is the best. Super open to the vision that we have together, so it's awesome. But I wrote down a list of venues that I thought could be in our price range and also would kind of fit who we are as a couple.
Mhm.
And we ended up going with the Clay Theater in Jacksonville, mostly because of the vibe and also
Yes.
their team. Their team is amazing.
They are. I worked with them not that long ago, beginning of
Yeah.
this year, and they're stellar.
They are stellar. But we are big movie people, so we really wanted something that when we saw the Clay Theater, I had my eye on it for a while, but when Luke saw it, he was like, this is it. Like, we're big movie buffs. He's a huge movie guy. I love romance movies. Like, we just wanted our whole day to be very like movie theater-esque, timeless, and really play into that aspect of our love story, which is really fun. But besides aesthetic wise, their team is phenomenal. They're so attentive. When we went for the venue tour, she was so sweet and just like really took the time to like go through every single process, like answered our questions really easily. They have amazing like recommendations for vendors, and they once we booked, they sent us this like whole list of everything we needed for everything. And then we had went back and did another venue tour with my parents, and same thing. Like, they were super accommodating. Like, even though we had already booked, they were like, oh yeah, oh my gosh, please come. Like, we would love to like show you around again. You know what I mean? So like, which I think is a really big
Absolutely. That's huge
a
right
big
there.
thing. And there was another venue on our list.
You won't say.
No, that I had heard opposite things from, that they were kind of more reserved with venue visits, and they, their team that actually works with them personally is a little shady. And I didn't want that. I wanted to definitely feel like I wasn't burdening anybody, and that like I was valued just as anybody else,
Absolutely.
So
No,
they take the time to do that, which is awesome.
that's awesome. And then when it came to picking out your planner, who's also your bestie, but
Bestie.
honestly, what significant value does a planner provide really for the wedding day,
Oh my
or
gosh.
even just more, not just wedding day, but the whole wedding planning journey
Yeah.
for you?
Yeah. Our planner sent us a huge roadmap of like, broke down every single month of like, this is what you need to do this month, and this is what you need to do this month. And which is so helpful for us, because I wouldn't know where to start. As yes, I'm in the wedding industry, but planning a wedding and being there on a wedding day and creating a timeline is totally different,
Yeah.
So, when the save the dates need to go out, when you need to, book consultations for things, when you need to have certain bookings by, it's so important to just like keep the flow. Wedding planners do so much. Please hire a wedding planner. Stat. You will be so much happier on your wedding day. I promise you. And if you're not, I will not take an I told you so. No.
Make sure you interview your
Yes.
planner properly, and make sure you have that connection that they can, and believe that they can really fulfill the role. Not that they only just fit your budget, but that they can really do their job
fit
effectively.
the role. Yes, because they take care of so much on your wedding day that you probably don't even know about. They keep the timeline on track. They really like plan and design everything. They make sure everything is to a T perfect. They make sure nothing about anything that's gone wrong. Like, you know what I mean? I've had so many planners, and just hearing stories from one of my friends, just of all the back end little things that go wrong on a wedding day that the bride and groom have no idea about, because it's being taken care of by an amazing team. You need a planner immediately. If you don't have one, please book one. Stat. They just help not only you, but they also help your vendors as well.
Agree. And honestly, now heading to like videographer, right?
Yeah.
Why was it important for you to hire videography? Like, just in general, it doesn't have to be about me, because I'm the videographer.
You're like, I know, I'm cool and all.
But let's talk about what's the value that videography really would hold for you in the wedding day, and what makes it different than content creation, honestly, that you found it like, hey, I want to have a videographer for my wedding.
Yeah. I've always wanted a videographer for my wedding. I see wedding videos and I cry, more than photo, most of the time. And I just feel like it holds so much more value, like just in the creative space.
Mhm.
Having a full-blown movie about your day is
Yeah,
something we all dream of. Even when you're little and you like look at all these movies, you're constantly watching movies. You're watching TV shows, you're watching little videos, all the time we're just watching videos. And to have something that's so like meaningful to you and something that you can always look back on where you were literally in your own movie, how cool. I
yeah,
always wanted that. I was like, this is awesome. Like a video might not go on my wall, but
yeah.
they're just so different too. Like I feel like, I don't know, this is a whole topic for another day, but like photographer and videographer, it's like, oh, do you have a videographer or do you have a photographer? They're totally different.
Yeah,
Please get both. If you can budget for both, do both. They like hold such different value.
agree. Absolutely agree. And even with content creation now.
Yeah, with content creation, personally, I probably won't have content creation at my wedding. I do get, with social media being as huge as it is, I get why people are doing it. And I do think it's cool and does show a little aspect of like normalcy. You know what I mean? Because not everyone has like a huge Canon camera in their face all the
Yeah.
time. It kind of gives that normalcy to your wedding day, which is really fun and a nice little touch. But I
It's
don't know.
it's interesting. I think
It is
that's
interesting.
going to be a whole topic on its own
Yeah.
with videography versus content creation.
Yeah.
What is that? I think they complement each other in
They
different
do,
ways
for sure.
because every wedding videographer has a whole different approach to what their edits and the final product is going to look like versus what content creations are capturing, whether they're doing TikTok or reels or different things that they're just setting it up for later, while the videographer may be trying to tell a specific story
Right.
in other moments as well.
For sure.
That's awesome.
So that's about all we have time for on this episode of the 2717 podcast, where we really got to dive in. Are bookings low for 2025, or do we all just need to really step up our game in the creative industry?
Step up the game.
Boom. We are so excited to be coming at you the first 3 Mondays of the month. So stay tuned for next week's episode. And Javi, where can they find you?
You can find me at sundial.creatives.
And you guys can find me at Ashley Jade Photography LLC. And you can find us on Instagram and TikTok at 17 podcast. Again, 2717 podcast, 27 as the number 17 spelled out. We will catch you guys next time. Leave us a review, like,
Peace.
subscribe, comment. Bye.